the No1 Podcast. I am your host, Coach Jake, and I am so thrilled to see you guys. So today, the name of the talk that I came up with for you guys today is the Alchemy of Grit, transforming liabilities into assets. Right? What's up, Wesley? What's up, Mason Remington? Yo, what's up? Give me a number one. Golan Sam, what's up? Assalamu alaikum, dude. Kilpatrick Vince, Johan, Dang Wang. What's up, dude? That's a cool name, Dang Wang. Montana, Joseph Boone, Joseph, who else, man? Zing Wang. That's Scott Ross, Raquino. What's up, Gil Shannon Sr.? Happy to see you. Connor Brigg, Raquino, Brett Martin. Look, guys, hit me with a number one in the chat. Today, having a talk inspired by a podcast I was on the other day. Good buddy Tracy. I will have that up soon and shared across all the social channels. A buddy of mine, Tracy, who's also a fellow 10X business coach. We did a great talk. He gave me a great compliment. He said that the word, he's like, I don't know you that well, but I've had enough talks with you and know you well enough that the word that keeps coming up in my mind to describe you is grit. And I was like, wow, that's a cool, I like that. I can roll with that. I'm down. That was a really cool compliment. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to discuss like what is the definition of grit? And everybody's got different ones. There's a great book out there that I want to talk about by Angela Duckworth called Grit. You should all go get it. Grit by Angela Duckworth. I don't make no money on it. It's a good book. What's up, Terry? What's up, Spag? RLO, Caxelo, Rothak. Dude, you guys got some crazy names. Stellar Steven, what's up, dude? Happy to see you. So anyway, guys, you got questions? You got anything that I can help you with, or you want to tell me to F off, whatever, it's in the chat. Just hit me up in there. Hopefully it's nice. I'm just kidding. But, so on the topic of grit, it's funny because I had a conversation with my dad today, who's actually on the call. So this is nice. But it's funny because this weekend, I got 3 kids, all of them under 17. I got a 11, 14, and 17-year-old. And they were all at the house. And in Colorado on Monday, it was colder in Denver than it was in Antarctica. My dad shared a stat that he saw in the news, 178,000, almost 200,000 homes in the Denver area had frozen pipes. And I was one of them. And so I was without water for 3 days. My wife was gone. I was Mr. Mom by myself. And so we had no toilets flushing, no water to drink, no water to wash dishes, no water to shower, no water to do dishes or laundry. So it was kind of frontier living for a minute, like off grid in the city. It was not fun, but we made do. Then the pipes thawed and burst and flooded my basement again. So I had to deal. I took 5 client calls yesterday, dealt with burst pipes by myself with 3 kids home alone because they couldn't leave. And, my dad brought that up as a case in point about grit. So anyway, long story short, grit. What is it? And what's my definition? My definition might be different than your definition, which might be different than the Merriam-Webster definition. I'm going to ask the internet right now, what is the definition of grit? Okay, this is what it's telling me right now. The definition of grit is a psychological trait or characteristic that involves a combination of passion, perseverance, and a resolute determination to achieve long-term goals despite facing obstacles, setbacks, or challenges. I can see this. I can see where I embody this in some regards. It's the ability to maintain a high level of effort and commitment over an extended period, even in the face of adversity, failures, and difficulties. Grit is often associated with resilience, the willingness to learn from mistakes, and the capacity to stay focused and dedicated to one's objectives. It's about staying committed to a goal or task with unwavering determination, no matter how tough the journey may become. Okay, I think that's a good definition. Now, my definition's a little bit different, and that's why I call this show, Arlo Says, doing what you need to do no matter what, right? Like kind of discipline. I think discipline is maybe a function, or is a Grit is a function of discipline, maybe. I don't know. Just throwing that out there. But, I want to talk about my idea of the alchemy of grit. I have maybe a slightly different take. I don't know. Everybody's different. And the alchemy of grit. Alchemy is this idea. It's a proto-science. It was alchemy, chemistry, right? It was proto-science before the science we have today, but still scientifically minded. Anyway, it was about transforming one thing into another. In traditional talks about alchemy, when you bring it up, it's always this idea of turning lead into gold, something that's not valuable into something valuable. And I want to talk a bit about the alchemy of turning a liability into an asset. To me, that's the core of grit. That's really the alchemy of grit, is you turn shit into fertilizer, for lack of a better term. Pardon my language. What's up, Rebecca? What's up, Coach Prieto? Jiu-Jitsu Juggernaut. Hello. Paladin of Mars says, damn, that's rough. Yeah, dude, it is. Dad is saying number 1 is backwards behind you. Yeah, on this channel, I can't mirror the screen. So if that's anybody on Instagram, you're going to get the number 1 backwards. If you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Twitter, if you're on Twitch, if you're on LinkedIn, the number 1 is right, because that platform I have better control. What's up, Rebecca? Getting a shout out from Alaska. I feel bad complaining about the cold when I got people from Alaska, but it was legit, dude. Denver was colder than Antarctica on Monday. 178,000 homes with frozen pipes. And then mine burst, but I got it fixed, right? And this is really where I want to talk about this, right? This idea of grit. And for me, the idea of grit really is about turning these things, these adversities, how do I turn them to my advantage? I think that's maybe how I've gotten a reputation or a vibe or a brand associated with grit. A lot of things I do are gritty. Wrestling might be the grittiest sport, martial art, combat sport, activity ever. Beck Hammery, who's your favorite wrestler? After me? I wasn't that great. My favorite wrestler depends. Catch as catch can. I'm going to go with Billy Robinson. Before that, Golden Age, I'm going to go with Tom Jenkins. MMA, Sakuraba, Frank Shamrock, Josh Barnett, probably in that order. Who else? Scholastic, Wade Chalice, Mark Schultz, probably in that order. Hope that helps you. I don't know if that answers your question. Those are my favorites. Everybody's got their own. Paladin of Mars says John Pesek. Yeah, Pesek was a badass. The Tiger Man was a badass. Charles Olson killed a couple people, though. I don't know if that's good. Arlo, Silver Fox. All right. So anyway, what's up, the Nature Boy? Happy to see you. Okay, so for me, grit really is this idea of transforming, the alchemy of turning a liability into an asset. I'll give you a perfect example. I had a client that came to me. Okay, I charge a lot of money. This guy had to sell some Bitcoin to work with me. Made a sacrifice. I've learned this the hard way. Grant gave me this advice, Grant Cardone. If they don't pay, they don't pay attention. Why do you think school is so expensive? Like school that actually helps you. So anyway, Beck Hammery says, no, it is. Thank you. I think useful. Anyway, so I had this client, great guy, family man, 4 kids, one more than me. And I know what a handful 3 is, 4 kids. And he was struggling, dude. He was struggling. He threw a lot of what he had to work with me. Now we ended up more than doubling his income in our short time. So it was a really good investment. We also got him into a house. He now is an investor in real estate, all kinds of great stuff, right? Anyway, long story short, when this guy met me, 4 kids, like working all day. He was a delivery guy for Amazon and UPS and these other guys. He was a delivery guy, working hard and not making enough money to get ahead, especially with 4 kids. Long story short, his youngest kid has Down syndrome. And, I have an aunt who had Down syndrome. Rest in peace, my Aunt Susie. She's passed on now. But so I'm very sensitive to this as a cause, and I love it. And he was confiding in me that the challenges he had in having a young child that was going to effectively be a child its entire life. They had the remainder of his life. It would always need help, probably, this child. He would always need assistance and help and whatnot. So long story short, I started looking at this and how can we turn this perceived liability into an asset? How do we benefit from it? Well, long story short, we ended up having him help other parents that were struggling with this same issue because he struggled and he overcame and he won and he became a great, great father to this child, but he had a lot of internal things he had to go. Anyway, we set him up with a program and had him write a book. And the book was, which is totally alchemical, clever, if I may say so myself, The Upside of Downs. Perfect metaphor, perfect example of turning a liability into an asset. Now, that there is, like I said, this great book, Grit by Angela Duckworth. I would definitely check it out. Okay. But for me, again, the alchemy of grit is really about turning these liabilities into an asset. That's how you actually do it. That's how you get grit. You can go, it's like these buffalo, speaking of freezing weather, right? I can't remember, it was like a buffalo, I think, but they basically walk into the storm because that's the shortest way that if you walk into the storm, it passes quicker. So ironic, right? Like head into it. Do you know what I'm talking about? You ever seen those memes? And it's like a buffalo of some sort and or a bison. I can't remember what it is, but they're just caked in snow, like totally like, but they went into the storm. This is a perfect example of turning that liability into an asset. I don't know if that's helping you guys, right? But anyway, let's break this down just a little bit. I do think you guys need to go check this book out by Duckworth. I make no money. I think it's a great book on the subject. It's the most academic book to date that I've seen that's in the popular literature. It cites all the psychological research and whatnot for whatever that's worth. Now, we got to break it down into its key components, right? It's like having the first part to me in this alchemy, in changing something from an asset, from a liability into an asset. You don't want to change from an asset to a liability, but that will happen. That will happen. Everything you have can be an asset or a liability, and they can switch. Something that was a liability can become an asset, and something that was an asset can limit you, right? Sometimes we call that a golden handcuff. Sometimes that's a job. It's great paying the bills, but now I can't make more than what they allow me to, right? It's just an idea. So the first step in this alchemy of grit is having a clear vision. You have to have clarity on where you want to go. Okay. You got to be clear. And with that, you need a little bit of fuel. So you're going to have whatever the vision is and back it with some passion. Okay. Number two, after clarity and after passion, you got to have resilience. How many of you guys are fans of Nassim Taleb? How many even know who he is? He's the guy who wrote The Black Swan. Dave Jumayev, hello from Dubai. Oh, dude, we got Alaska, we got Dubai, we got everybody up in the house. What's up, brother? Happy to see you, dude. Hoping to get out actually to Dubai. I got a couple people I'm talking to, see if we can't get out there. I was actually on the phone with Alistair Overeem, of all people, yesterday, talking to him about some projects, possibly, I don't know, in Dubai. Great guy, by the way. Alistair, you see him, this big, badass ninja dude. Sharp as a tack, dude. Sharp as a tack. And he's also he's also Dutch, which I'm predominantly Dutch on my mom's side. So anyway, Nassim Taleb has this book, but not Black Swan. That's maybe his most famous book, I would guess. I think that's probably his bestseller, right? Let's see here. Somebody, I can't see you guys on Facebook. This is the only problem. Hey, Jake, I just tuned in. I've been at my submission grappling class. Give me your name. I don't know who that is. It just says Facebook user. Facebook won't give me that information on this platform. Just give me a shout out so I know who that is. Anyway, Nassim Taleb wrote this book called Black Swan. That's where he got most famous. But his follow-up was called Anti-Fragile. And this is a concept. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. He thought he was being clever by reinventing the word or something. I don't know. The Greeks called the concept hormesis, Hormesis. And it's this idea, just like building muscle, you got to destroy the muscle to make it stronger, right? So there's this idea, the way that Talib talks about it is that there's things that are fragile, you hit them, they break. Things that are robust, it takes a lot of hitting to break it. And things that are anti-fragile or subject to hormesis, and that is you hit them and they actually get stronger. Okay, and again, these are not new concepts. I mean, I'm a fan of Talib, but he's a bit of a blowhard, I'm going to be honest. And he's brilliant, but he's super arrogant about it. Long story short, this bromide by Friedrich Nietzsche, probably my most influential philosopher. I've got a few, but definitely early on influence, and I've just always looked back to him for wisdom throughout the years. That old bromide of if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. Okay, anti-fragile. Well, that's resilience. The ability to bounce back from a setback stronger than before, right? It's not about avoiding failure. It's like that bison. You head straight into it so you can learn the lessons. Fair? Okay, let's see. Parker Midkiff, kind of off-topic question, but since you're around the combat sports community and since wrestling is arguably, not arguably, it is the most important thing in MMA, how do you feel about Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler? I don't know what you mean. Are you asking me how I'm betting? I'm betting on Chandler. I was talking about this today with another client. I have a software client. They do a lot. They're doing really well, but they need to do a lot better because they're still at risk. They don't have enough money. They don't have that FU money yet, right? And so I was talking to him today about this. And there's this idea, and this actually came from Billy Robinson, famous wrestler. And yeah, I'm with you, El Patron. I'm with Chandler 100%. And the reason is this. What Billy used to call schoolboy champions. And that is like the guy who's a good scholastic wrestler, right? He's a good scholastic wrestler, but he feels like he knows it all. And so he stops growing. So in the small pond, he's the big fish. But we move him to college, and it's full of a bunch of fish his size. He frizzles out because he's not open to learning. He was a schoolboy champion, and he stops there because his ego gets in the way, or he's not hungry. And this is what I've seen with Conor McGregor. I actually am a Conor McGregor fan. I'm also a Chandler fan. I think what Conor has done in some regards is stupid, but I also think what he's done is brilliant. Like, what I like about McGregor is what he's done what I'm trying to do in a different way. He's trying to bring the brilliance of pro wrestling marketing and promoting into combat sports. I'm doing it a different way with Shoot Pro Wrestling. He did it with his crazy outlandish promos and whatnot and antics. Risky move, could have turned out really bad. Okay. But the problem is have you seen, you just look at the numbers and it belies what I'm telling you. It shows what I'm telling you to be true. And that is this, that Conor McGregor's not hungry. He's had too much success. And so he's not the same Conor that came up crushing everybody. He's lost consistently ever since being on the top because he's not setting bigger and bigger goals. He said, I'm at the top of the hill. I'm the top dog. I'm the big guy. No, you're not. And we've seen it. So he's really crushed it because he's figured out the promoting game, which is the most important thing when it comes to money. He's the highest paid athlete in MMA, I think, ever, and especially maybe athlete in terms of work spent in the ring for money paid. I think I saw a stat like that, but he's losing. Chandler's a wrestler. Chandler embraces the grind. If I were betting, I think the smart play is on Chandler. Okay, that's my guess. And again, it has to do with our topic today of grit. And I think that Conor has not set big enough targets for himself in the sport. He won, but he doesn't want to be the dominant guy. He's in his mind at some level. And it's just a goal-setting thing. This is a coaching. To me, this is the domain of the limits of his coaches. His coaches have not been thinking big enough, right? Say MPL3 says, sample, I think that's what it is, wrestling with fame. Yeah, so Aaron Walker says, is it not better for catch wrestlers to just enter BJJ comps and do well in those to grow catch? Seems more useful than just competing catch at a small community. No, you need to do it all. You need to do it all. the difference is it never existed outside of BJJ competitions until I came along. And I showed people how to do it. I blazed the trail. I took the guff, took the ridicule, took the risks, lost the money, pushed. And now you see a bunch of people feeling like they can go and do it and doing a great job. Some people like Wigan, man, their production values are great. I'm trying to find somebody, if you know somebody, to where I could beat them on production values now because they're doing such a great job in their presentation. I think they could do better on their booking, and I do think that their rule set still needs refining. They've changed it a lot. I think they've come closer to what I've been doing in allowing chokes and things of that nature. I just, they've got to make it more relevant for what's going on today instead of trying to LARP and keep it. And there's precedent. There was plenty of chokes and catch can, just not the way they did it. In America, Frank Gotch, Evan Strangler Lewis, all these guys would win all the time with chokes. So that's totally lack of grappling literacy if you think there's no chokes and catch can. Anyway, to grow catch, which is what I've been doing for 20 years before anybody else, and again, it's not bragging if it's true, right? I've done more than anybody in this field. There's other guys that have done great things. For example, a guy who's done a great thing, exactly to what you're talking about, Aaron, is Barnett. He just entered all the BJJ competitions. They had to give him a BJJ black belt, even though he's not really a BJJ guy, right? So El Patron says he loses and thinks he's on top, but definitely the money talking. Yeah. Paladin Mars says Connor has wrestling now. Well, we'll see. I mean, it's one thing to say you got it and the other one to pull it off in action. That's the hard part, right? Parker Midkiff, do you feel now that Connor's a black belt but it would combat Chandler's wrestling? I don't know exactly what that means. Like maybe, are you saying he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu? I don't know. We'll have to see. It's all speculative until it happens. That's the fun of it, right? El Patron, as long as he dominates the money, he doesn't care anymore. Listen, man. Yeah, you're right. Because what are we doing this for? If you're doing it to be the best, go into the Olympics and you can make some money at it, but you ain't going to make Conor McGregor money. This is the difference. So Billy Robinson, I hate to bring him up again. Well, not really, man. The guy was amazing. Tells his story about when he won a big championship. I think he won the British Empire Amateur Wrestling Championship or an Irish one. He won all the things you could win. Okay. And what you don't know is I don't mean to upset people. I'm just going to speak the facts. British wrestling is awful. Competitive wrestling. Okay. I mean, I'm glad they're doing it, but they don't medal at the world level consistently in the Olympics, blah, 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 blah. That's why I went after Wade Chalice as soon as Billy passed away, because I wanted to bring the best that I could. Billy was the only guy, and, rest his soul, Jack Monfort, catch can guy, judo champion, brilliant human being, passed away. It was probably about 10 days ago now, so rest in peace, Jack Monfort. Great guy. He used to message me on Instagram or on Facebook. Really good dude, great knowledge. He said that Billy Robinson was the only guy in the 20th century that very well could have taken a gold medal in the Olympics. He was that good. That's why I went with Billy. I'm not just about catch. I'm about the best. You guys understand? Billy, Carl. I mean, there's a lot of people know catch, and they suck. Just to be real, there are a lot of people that claim to know jiu-jitsu, and they suck. Why do I call it number one? Why is my belt number one? Why do I co-brand scientific wrestling with number one? Because it's not just about the subject matter. It's about the number one spot, being the best. It's important in a competitive sport like business or wrestling or MMA. Fair? So anyway, what Billy said was he went to his coach after winning this big amateur thing, and his coach, Billy Riley, said to him, "Oh, great. Okay, yeah, good. Can you buy me a steak dinner? I've done all this coaching for you, trained you. You won the big deal. Big deal. Can you buy me a steak dinner with that?" And Billy kind of looked at him brokenhearted and was like, "Nope, I can't. I can't." And then Riley said, "This is why you go pro." So do you understand that the aim of pro sometimes is different than the aim of amateurs? Amateur, and when I say this, I'm not making value judgments. I'm just categorizing. Amateur wrestling is not about making money. This is why communist countries and whatnot, and it is. I mean, if you are a gold medalist, you get a better lifestyle in communist countries like Cuba and whatnot. But so it ultimately is. It's just there's no lie about it. When you're a professional, you're about making money, and so in that regard, Connor is number one. He's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go out there and make some money, and I don't care if I win or lose. But isn't that the attitude of the professional wrestler? It may have been predetermined, but it's very similar. It's like, dude, I'm out there to make money. I'm working. Just to give you guys an idea of kind of perspective here, right? So I want to bring it back maybe a little bit. I hope that resonates with you guys. I'm trying to bring it back a little bit to grit and the alchemy of grit. Okay. Again, it's part of it's about resilience, about clarity. It's about passion, right? It's about resilience, this ability to bounce back. And finally, this is where the rubber hits the road, and where I'm a big fan of this guy he passed away in 2020, Anders Ericsson, Anders Ericsson. He was a researcher on expertise theory. And he's the guy that, like, a lot of this 10,000 hour rule and Malcolm Gladwell's work is based on, Anders Ericsson, right? And it's this idea about consistent, deliberate action and practice, training. So, and this applies to anything. There's a corollary. The 10,000 hour rule is this rule that came from the research and got made famous by Malcolm Gladwell, that author. And it basically says that to become like a world level expert, like an Olympian, roughly speaking, on average, it takes 10,000 hours of deliberate practice, meaning not just rote, like you're engaged, problem solving, putting yourself in hard situations, working. 10,000 hours. That's a rough idea, and there's arguments pro and con, but it's the generally accepted idea, okay? Well, there's a corollary, and it's called the 100-hour rule, but it's 100 hours a year. And the way that it works is that 100 hours a year, the person who deliberately practices 100 hours a year, which I think boils down to 18 minutes a day, those people that practice 18 minutes a day, whatever it is, whether it's karate, sales, cross-country skiing, guitar, whatever, public speaking, those people that practice 18 hours a day, that's not 10,000 hours, 18 minutes a day, 100 hours in a year, end up in the top 90 percentile of performance for whatever that activity is. And so what's the lesson to take from that? It's deliberate, consistent activity. New friend of mine, Ricky Lundell, I don't know if you guys know him, University Grappling, brilliant guy, field world grappling champion, good friend with Cale Sanderson. He has this concept of 1% better every day. Gabby says, "Hi, Jake. I miss you and the family so much." What's up, Gabby? So happy to see you. Yeah, man, you and your mom got to come down and visit us. Or we just don't get up to Salt Lake that much anymore, but we got to make a deliberate effort to make it happen. Mahib Sharma says, "I'm not devoted into MMA, but I want to prove myself." Okay. Typing it on my feed ain't going to help you. You got to go just get in the mix and go get beat up for a little while and stay in there until you start beating people up. There's no pill. That's how it works if you're a newbie. Anyway, it's this deliberate practice that's the key to a lot of it. It's about putting in the consistent effort every day. So for example, when I'm working with a business client, I'm like, you guys need to be studying and working. In particular, if I'm working with people on the Cardone material, I'll be like, dude, you need to be spending at least 18, 20 minutes learning marketing and sales and scaling and how to do that stuff. If I'm working with an athlete, I'm like, dude, you need to be 18 minutes a day studying tape. You need to be in the gym. You need to get all these things. It's that little consistent effort. Now, if you want to go from being in the top 90% to top 1%, that's where we move from 100 hours a year to 10,000 hours. How long is it going to take you to get to that 10,000 hours? For athletes, You've got an expiration date. By the time you hit 30, a lot of athletes are beat up or they don't have it. They don't have the ability to compete with somebody at 20 physically. A lot of people really hit their pace. Their golden era is not until they hit their 35. But that's because sometimes that's how long it takes people to accumulate 10,000 hours. Oh, going out to, it's James. What's up, James? So we got Alaska, we got Dubai, we got the UK. What's up, brother? Do I believe in the cold water plunge, and what do you think about the possibility of Brock coming back to the UFC? Okay, cold water, I do believe in it. I think it's awesome. I don't think you need to go buy a $10,000 dunk tank. I think that's just showing off. It's cool if you want to do it. I got no problem. You got the money, do it. If you don't got the money, don't do it. That's dumb. Go to a junkyard, get a shitty old cast iron bathtub, put it in your backyard. Go down to 7-Eleven, the ice machine, spend $3 or $4. Or if you're in Colorado, just fill it with water and leave it outside in the wintertime. It's below zero, dude. It's so cold. And you can get it for basically free. But I've also seen some other research. I think Dave, what's that guy's name? Aspie or whatever. I saw some research that he cited, whether it's true or not, I don't know. But you could just do the same by freezing a metal bowl every night and filling it with water and just dunking your head in your chest. And it gives you the exact same physiological effect as dunking your entire body. Whether that's true or not, I'm not 100% sure. Gabby Girl says, I'll try to convince her. Please do. That'd be great. I'd love to see you guys. Stellar Steven, 3 gym visits yesterday. Okay, I'm into that, but it's not about doing 3 visits in one day. It's about doing a visit over 3 days. You know what I mean? Like, and not even that. You got to say, like, for the next year, I'm going to go every day. And if you go 3 times a day, you might injure yourself because fatigue is going to make you slower and more prone to injury. So if you're working to exhaustion, what you want to do, and this is where I think a lot of people get mixed up on stuff. You got to be smart about how you do stuff. So what I would do is I go in and just stretch real quick and get wrestling as hard as I can, learning while my body's fresh. And then when I'm dead, like dead, like I can't lift my arms, then I'm going to go do my strength and conditioning because I don't want to drill sloppy. I'm going to go do strength and conditioning, push my body even harder. Then I'm going to go do my ice bath for recovery. I'm going to go do my collagen and all the other stuff that helps out. So anyway, listen, how do we apply this alchemy of grit to our own lives? How do we actually do that? Okay, number 1, self-awareness, dude. You just got to be aware. It's like, if I don't know there's a $10 bill sitting on the ground, I can't pick it up. You got to stay alert, right? And a lot of this comes from Martin Seligman. You have to actually do an assessment. What are my strengths and weaknesses, right? You've got to have this grit. And to do that is going to start with, right, Thales. That's what I originally named number 1. Number 1 was originally named Thales after Thales and Miletus. Maybe the most influential human to ever live. You can Google his accomplishments. The guy's sick, massively influential on me, but I'm conscious and aware of it. Next, you've got to really stop trying to avoid challenging situations. You've got to be that buffalo, that bison that heads into the storm. Don't run away, run toward. Don't be stupid. I mean, there is a fine line between courage and stupidity, but the difference is success. You do something risky, and this is at the core of entrepreneurship. The very definition of entrepreneur has the word risk in it, and risk means win or lose. Fair? So, lemonade is putting lemons under pressure. You want to talk alchemy? I can turn coal into diamonds with pressure. And you want grit, resilience, toughness. And a diamond is one of the toughest substances on earth. You need pressure. Gay Connell P MMA. Sup? What's up? What's up, Anthony Mateos? What's up, Brandy Moon Model? I appreciate when you guys got usernames I can pronounce. Joshy760, Hamilton Clothing, Hassip, what's up? Philip Mihawk, happy to see you guys. So listen, embrace the challenges. You got to get in there. You got to get in the mix. Get in the scrum. Start kicking and scrapping. You feel me? And last, you got to keep your passion. You've got to have passion. Now, I have not studied passion. I just have it. I'm sure there's some nerd who started studying what is passion and blah, blah, blah. I don't know much about it. I've not studied it. Honestly, sadly, because I have it in spades. This is me fucking decaffeinated. Like, dude, like I'm intense. Okay. But that's the fuel that's going to push you through when things get really hard and you don't want to go. So let's look at scientific wrestling. It's been around over 20 years now. I started 2003. We're in 2024. So 21 years we've been doing this. And what did Lou Thesz used to say? Lou Thesz used to say about a competitor, oh, they came on strong and then they just faded away. If you can push harder, longer, and stay in the game, everybody else will fade away, and you'll be the guy. Does that make sense? Gikonoralp MMA. I don't know what the hell your name means, but I wish grappling telepte were more monetized. I have no idea what that one word means, and that's making me miss the entire meaning of the sentence, my friend. What's up? No exist. Josh Boyd, happy to see you guys. Matthew Gibb MMA. What's up? Okay, so to this point about grit, let's talk about grit in action now, right? So let's look at like real life case studies of individuals who turn their liabilities into assets. I already gave an example of my buddy, my client that wrote a book. You can go to Amazon, go check it out. The Upside of Downs. It's about how do you cope when you love kids, you got a great family, you want to grow it, and one of your kids ends up with a situation like Down syndrome. He wrote this great book. You can check it out. But that's a perfect case study. But I want to go into some other stuff, right? Like think about like maybe a single mom. Doesn't have any formal education, right? You might have heard of her. Sarah Blakely, Spanx. The chick's like a billionaire off of making underwear that helps women with their little pooch, their little fupa, or whatever that thing's called. Started from nothing. Grant Cardone started from nothing. Me started out, almost died at 10 from gangrene poisoning from a botched surgeon. Almost died at 15 from cancer, chemotherapy, radiation, surgeries. Broke my neck. I have one carotid artery from wrestling. I mean, dude, like I'm just telling you, man, like you've got to see these examples, right? Like instead of looking at the calamities of your life, because you will have them, guarantee it, especially if you took those injections that they just pushed on everybody a couple of years, you got to figure out how am I going to turn that liability into an asset, okay? I mean, let's think about somebody that came from nothing like Conor McGregor. Guy was a plumber's apprentice and then said F it and threw everything in and pushed as hard. You understand? Parker Midkiff says, after an injury, how do you get your confidence back? Because nothing is working. And this is my senior and 7th year. Oh, man, that's a hard one. That is, and dude, I know it. Like your number one thing is you've got to get right with yourself. Why am I doing this? Are you doing this because it's your parents pushing you? Are you doing this to impress girls? Like, or are you doing this because you want to do it? If you want to do it, you have to adapt and improvise. You have to accept your injuries, and you have to go find people that might have had similar injuries that have successfully overcome it. That would be the shortcut. That is what I call the number one shortcut. Go find the number one guy that's done what you're trying to do and model, mimic, and master what they did. I don't know if that helps you. That would be my first step without knowing much more about your thing. G. Conneral P. MMA. What was the boss surgery about? I had, I guess it was my fault. It's also the surgeon's fault, but it was my fault. I wouldn't have been in the situation. I was 9 years old. I was living in an abusive household. I had a very abusive alcoholic stepfather, and beat my mother, beat me, was very, very mean. Like, I hear the stuff Sean Strickland talks about, and I'm like, dude, I got you beat. It's not something to beat somebody about, but brutal. And I was sick of it, dude. I'm 9 years old. I didn't know what to do with it. And I started faking being sick. Well, guess what? He took me to his buddy, who is the only surgeon in town. We lived in a really small town, less than 2,000 people, and did appendectomy on me. That was not necessary. And I was too stupid and young and naive and got myself in that situation because I was playing sick all the time because I just was rebelling and hated school, hated my life. Anyway. So in that regard, it was my own mistake that I learned from. The surgeon left a hole at the end of the scar about that big, and after the surgery, told me to take baths. So I had an open wound bigger than a quarter in my incision, and all the filth of a 9-year-old boy going into that wound. And within 3 weeks, I had massive gangrene poisoning. I had a temperature of 107 degrees. They rushed me in, did emergency surgery to save my life on the 4th of July. And I will always remember this. It was St. Anthony's Hospital, which overlooks Sloan's Lake in Denver. I happened to luckily be spending the summer with my dad. They had joint custody. I was with my mom, and she was married to this asshole. Long story short, I'm 4th of July, 107 temperature, pus coming out like disgusting, dude, out of this thing, like yellow and green pus. And they rushed me to the hospital on 4th of July. I actually ruined some Denver surgeons' 4th of July because they had to come in. And I remember wheeling me, and I had the little mask on. I'm like 9 years old, 10 years old. And they wheeling me, and there's a window, and I could see the fireworks going off. It was at night. I could see the fireworks going off over the lake. And then I passed out and woke up, and I was not dead. So that was it. I don't know what to tell you, man. Arlo, keep up the great work. Thank you, sir. Arlo, and fighting the good fight. Trying. And last but not always, be in the fight. Yes, sir. G-Con MMA says, physical therapy and strengthening the injured area, regaining the range of motion and flexibility and mobility. There we go. That's for Parker. Wow. Goddamn, that's terrible. Yeah, that was 9 to 10. And after I nearly died, my dad was like, this is fucking enough bullshit. And he actually got custody of me. My mom ended up leaving him a year later. It was easier, I think, for her to leave than when I was there. Long story short, lived with my dad for about 2 years, 3 years. My stepmom leaves us absolutely dirt broke poor. My dad has a massive heart attack. He nearly dies. I get stressed out. A month later, I get diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. I'm living with my dad, who just had 2 massive heart attacks, one back to back, one and then one in the hospital. And then, I spent the next year in and out of hospitals, getting chemotherapy, radiation, and surgeries. And I made it. So I started wrestling in 1977. I was 4 years old. My mom put me in Pee Wee wrestling. My mom grew up in Nebraska on a farm. Wrestling is what you did. My grandpa was into it. My grandpa, I remember, this is the weird cosmic thing. My grandpa on my mom's side, a farmer, used to hook me by his cane and drag me, make me watch old AWA, Vern Gagne, which I know that Billy Robinson was on. So I was probably watching Billy Robinson when I was 4. It's cosmically enough, really weird. And started wrestling and loved it. But then when I moved, the small town didn't have wrestling. I moved back to Denver after my surgery. I started doing, Karate Kid came out, started doing karate, got my black belt, then got cancer again. Like in that short window, I got my black belt. Now it is McDojo, so it doesn't matter. much, but it was, accomplishment for a kid. Got my black belt, and then went to college, and I thought that was a big deal. And a roommate of mine said, "Oh, you're a black belt. Well, I'm a green belt in judo. Let's go in the backyard." He beat the shit out of me, threw me all around. I was like, at the Boulder Y the next day. Then the UFC came out in Denver. I went live, changed my life. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Moved to California to study jiu-jitsu. We're talking 95. Carly Gracie, and also Half Gracie, Kurt Osiander on their South of Mission place, and Carly, which was up more north. Do a fuck ton of challenge matches. I start seeing that as good as I am, the second one of these wrestling guys figures out what I'm doing, I'm toast, that they're superior. So just like my lesson with the judo guy, my roommate, Dan, I was like, dude, I'm going with the number one thing. And so ever since the late 90s, I've been deep diving on everything to do with wrestling, including professional wrestling. Stellar Stevens says, unrelated, but Jesse Ventura is coming to my area for an appearance. Your thoughts on your interview with him? Yeah, ages ago, I did an interview with him. You can Google it. I think it's on YouTube. Man, this is like 12 years ago. He and Billy got along well. Jesse Ventura always puts Billy Robinson over, and I always appreciate that. I'm going to be real. I love Jesse Ventura. I love his guts. I love his sacrifices. The guy was a Navy SEAL, a governor, tried to make a difference. Got censored, deplatformed, had to move to Mexico. Guy's a stud. If you go watch that, his books are great. All of his books are great. If you go and watch the Conspiracy Theory show, man, he was ahead of his day. He's like an Alex Jones where, yeah, unpopular, weird, whatever, but he is right. It's really creepy. Great guy. Love Jesse Ventura. Love Jesse Ventura. More power to Jesse Ventura. All right, guys, I've been on here long enough blabbering about grit, resilience, all that kind of stuff. Grit isn't just for individuals, by the way. It's for teams as well, okay? And it's not just for sports. It really, I wrote a whole book. Here's my book. Backwards for you guys on Instagram, Sportify, okay? Sportify. And the whole book is basically about treating business like a sport, going beyond gamification, this concept that you find in software about badges and leaderboards and stuff. And this is really where martial arts loses it on the belt system. They need to go deeper and get into sport, testing, getting out in the field, winning and losing, right? So it's not just for teams, and individuals grit, and it's not just for sports. You can have an entire team that you teach grit to in basketball, for example, grinding, training, showing up. Kobe Bryant was famous for this. He would be there doing free throws and layups at 4 a.m. And this is a guy who's hungry. He wasn't like Conor McGregor. He was actually doing the stuff that he wanted to win. The money was a byproduct, right? So anyway, long story short, I appreciate you guys joining me. I'm going to answer some of these questions here. So Aaron Walker says, did Billy ever talk about whether he was famous in Wigan? I'm from Wigan, and unfortunately, it seems that the wrestlers of the past have been largely forgotten. I'll tell you a story. The sad state of affairs before we went there, and now I think we've kicked off a revival that, Roy and Andrea have done tremendous of taking that and going. But when I was working with Billy, one of the things he really wanted to do is he wanted to get back to England. He had not been to England in ages. He left, traveled the world, went to India, made a big name in India. In fact, there's still a Billy Robinson annual wrestling tournament in India. Made a big name, obviously, in Japan, made a huge name in the United States. But he was like, dude, I want to go back to England where it all started for me before, it's my home. So we went back in 2011 and we get in the cab, right? Like we arrive at Manchester Airport, and it was the first time we'd been back. We get in the cab, and the driver that Andy Crittenden, who was our host, who helped us get over there and coordinate a lot of stuff overseas that I didn't know about in the places, he got us this driver. Well, ironically, I don't know that he planned this. This seemed rather kind of coincidental. This guy was a martial arts nerd. He's like like we get in the car and he's like, oh, hello, what are you doing? I can't do the accent, but very northern accent. And he's like, what are you guys doing here? And I'm like, oh, we're here to, go to tour martial arts schools. That year we hit like 20 schools. It was grueling. It was a rough schedule. It almost killed me. That's why eventually I ended up expanding, because it was so big and powerful, influential. We had so many tour dates, so many bookings. I had to look at what I had and I was like, dude, who can I bring with me to help? And that's when I first was like, okay, I'm going to start creating this like assistant coach, coaching catch thing that's actually got structure. And that's when we brought on Sam Crescent, who's, 4th degree Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, great guy. And he was taking it as seriously as I did, showing up as much as he possibly could to anything with Billy. Anyway, long story short, that first year I didn't have him. We get in the car with this guy. This guy, the driver, is like a martial arts nerd. He's telling us everything about Jeet Kune Do, everything about MMA, everything about Bruce Lee, everything about Dan Inosanto, and blah, 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 all this stuff. Like, this guy knows it. And we are literally in Manchester. So we're like an hour away from Wigan, or however far. Like, we're in the north where it originated from. Long story short, he's telling me all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, well, do you know who you're in the car with? And he's like, no, who? And I go, this is Billy Robinson. This is the guy that was like the last to learn the hard style of catch, can with submissions, all of that, before it kind of got moved into more of an amateur freestyle Olympic wrestling vibe with the next generation. He was like the last guy to really, really get in there and on the mat with these tough guys like Billy Joyce and whatnot, and have them actually explicitly give him the rub by handing him the title. No bullshit, no made up stories, no did I know this guy or any, like, legit. And the guy didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. I'm like, yeah, catch can wrestling. He had no idea. He's literally next to Bolton, which is the home of the birthplace of catch can, and Wigan, where so many people did it. No clue. And this guy was like an aficionado. So you're right, Aaron. It's a shame. However, that tour, we lit a spark from the north to the south. We went everywhere, man. We went like literally everywhere. All the way down south to London, all the way to Wigan, all the way, I can't remember the name of this town. It's right by Scotland and Doncaster in the Midlands. We were everywhere. Dude, it was like booking. It was brutal for me. And for Billy. It was just like, man, it was like one stop after another. I was beat up after it. So anyway, one of the last stops we had was at Wigan, and we went to the Aspel gym, which was where Roy Wood was coaching freestyle. I think he got involved through the state, through the government, through the monarchy or whatever, with some sort of Guam. I didn't know. If I've never heard of a British gold medalist, like consistent top English, I never heard of him in Guam. But nonetheless, he was coaching that team, the Olympic team. And Billy and I stopped by. We went and had dinner with he and Andrea. And Billy and I came back. Well, lo and behold, within a year, they saw what we were doing and caught wind of it, and was like, clearly they thought it was a good idea, because that's when they kicked off the Snake Pit and all that kind of stuff, right? As a brand, as a new name. Now, there was already Miyato who called his stuff a Snake Pit, and then there's people in the U.S. and nobody's connected, and it's kind of a mess business-wise. It causes a lot of confusion in the marketplace, but now there is an opportunity, because you can go and train with Roy and Andrea, and they have a great competition, that World Championship. They are doing an amazing bang-up job. I mean, like, I am now looking at, I think that we've got the best training on the planet, scientific wrestling, because, again, we go with the number one guys. But, dude, they've got the number one catch competition. I do like that they're moving more and more towards opening it up to the more American rule set, which allows chokes. They allow arm-in chokes now. And I hope that they have more of a no-holds-bar approach, which I think is important and relevant, given that MMA is the biggest driver of interest in this stuff. So, but you need to get over there, and you need to start working with those guys. There's other guys, too. I know Montfort had some guys at they just rebranded. I can't remember the name of the gym. Oh, I'm so sorry. But there's all kinds of guys now that are kind of getting out there, and you just got to do a little homework and get with them, right? G. Connell MMA. You look like an old school, incredible person. Good to know you. Have a nice stream. Thank you. Old school. I'm 50, so maybe I actually am old school now. I've been around. I was there at the second UFC in '94. So I've been around for a minute, and started, like I said, in Pee Wee's in 1977, martial arts. Aaron Walker. It's definitely getting more known from what I've seen in recent years. Yes, sir. Scrolling. Hey, what's up, Bell Tom? Happy to see you. ASW. Thank you, Aaron. Yes, I knew it was. I knew. Thank you so much. Yes, ASW. Great guys over there. If you can get over there as well, right? And then I know who's the black guy that's doing it too. He was a Montfort guy. Great guy, Vince. I can't remember that he changed the name of his club too. ASW, I think, changed their name. Anyway, whatever it is, doesn't matter what it's called. The name don't matter. What matters is you getting on the mat and learning and experimenting and earning that grit. So, okay, guys, that said, this talk went way longer than I thought, but I appreciate the engagement. I hope that you found it useful. You guys got to start turning assets or liabilities into assets. That's going to fuel this grit. That's going to carry you through the hard times and have you win. What's up, Nate Hinkson? Hey, good to see you, dude. So if you guys need me, DM me. I'm here. I answer them myself. It might take a minute, but I'll answer them. If I don't answer, be persistent. I'll get to you. It's just my schedule is ridiculous. But I really do appreciate all you guys, and I hope you have a fantastic day, and I hope you really walk into those challenges, run towards them instead of running away. Appreciate you guys. Nate Hinkson says, what up? Bummed I missed the show. I think I got a replay on YouTube. If you go over to YouTube, it's on both the Scientific Wrestling and on my personal channel. You can find it there. Nate says, have a good day, Jake. Appreciate you, brother. All right, guys. Appreciate everybody that joined. What's up, Demigoon? Happy to see you. Again, hit me in the DMs. I think on my Facebook and LinkedIn, I've got a phone number you can reach out. It's actually my AI virtual assistant. I dare you to call it. You can have a hell of a conversation. It's pretty cool. Anyway, talk to you guys soon. Peace out.